Today, we're talking about overcompression, its two main causes, and how to avoid overcompressing into the front end of the rowing stroke while still maintaining good, solid length into and through the catch. It's a pretty common philosophy in the rowing world that around the front end of the rowing stroke, as you come into the catch, your shins should never come past vertical. Your shins should never come forward with the knees coming towards the toes at the front end of the rowing stroke. If you do come into the front end and you find that the knees are past vertical, that is known as overcompression. And although I personally don't have a huge issue with the shins being slightly past that vertical point at the catch, it is a best practice to minimize just how much further past vertical your shins progress into the catch of the rowing stroke. And for me, the reason I don't have a huge issue with the shins being slightly past vertical into the front end of the rowing stroke is there are very few people, if any, who are so precise with their turnaround at the front end that they come into connection at the front end at the exact moment that the shins are completely vertical and they don't lose any of the drive. There's no slip in their rowing stroke. For most of us, what happens, we come into the front end, there's a split second of connection that's happening around the front end of the stroke, and then we're in that great position to press. So I don't have a massive issue with the shins being vertical and then slightly forward, so that as we're coming around the front end in that conveyor belt motion that we spoke about in a recent video, we're coming into and through the front end. We're using that split second of time to address the speed the fan is moving, to connect to the fan, and we want to be connected with the shins vertical. We don't want to be connected any later in the rowing stroke, any further across the slide. And so, again, for me, I don't have an issue being slightly forward of vertical or just trying to be right on vertical with those shins as you take your rowing strokes. So there's a little bit of wiggle room there in the way that I coach. Some coaches are much more specific. You will never pass vertical with the shins. It's bad, it's wrong. I agree with them when it becomes extreme. And the reasons that it can potentially become extreme have to do with setup off the back end of the rowing stroke and also foot position. Those are the two biggest reasons that you might find yourself over compressing into the front end of the stroke. As such, the first issue is not setting up well. And that looks like the arms are coming out, the body's up, it never quite comes forward, the seat continues to move towards the heels. And as you see when I row with momentum, what'll happen is if I'm sitting back, I get a lot of compression through the front end and I end up over compressing. You can see the seat is at the heels, my body's back, my shins are just continuing to travel forward as opposed to getting myself set off the back end, allowing the arms to come out, body to come forward, and from this set position, rolling forward and through. I'm getting nice and long. My handle is getting all the way into the front end of the rowing stroke, and my shins are coming up vertical. And so by setting up well out of the back end, I'm helping ensure that I'm not getting into a situation where I'm over compressing with the legs and not even getting all the way into the front end because I'm sitting up and back with the body. So that is the first problem that can contribute to overcompression at the catch, at the front end of the stroke. The second problem that can contribute is when the feet are set too low on the rowing machine. So if the feet are set too low, and I only have one click to go, so hopefully this still comes across visually, but if the feet are set too low on the rowing machine, that can facilitate the ease with which we can float into the front end. The feet are lower, the angle is less. It just allows a freer roll into the front end, which is great to a certain degree because if the feet are too low, it will create overcompression in our stroke. So let's see if we can get that across visually here. So my feet are one click lower, and I'm going to roll into and through the front end. And as you can see, that freedom really allows my shins to travel past vertical over my knees as I come into the front end of the stroke. And so, yes, it feels easier to get compression, but I'm actually getting too much compression. And we've done another video, we've done multiple videos on all sorts of things in rowing, but one of the videos that we did was on foot setting. And if you have not yet watched that video, I really encourage you to do so. Watch that video to find where you might figure out your perfect foot setting to be. But there is a problem in terms of overcompression when the feet are too low. And if they're too low, then we're gonna roll right through the front end and we're gonna end up overcompressing. If you do find yourself overcompressing into the front end because you sit up too much and you're not establishing that body forward position, I would recommend two main drills to address it. One would be the legs only drill. So you're in this body forward position and nothing changes from this position. It is legs only. We're gonna let the legs come up. We're gonna press the legs down. When we finish, we will finish nose over knees. And so it's just legs up and down. We're holding that position with the body up and forward, hanging off the handle as we take each stroke, focused on rolling freely into and through the front end, but making sure that we don't end up sitting upright and over compressing each stroke of this drill. So it's important to be at that 11 o'clock forward position and maintain that position into and out of the front end of the rowing stroke. The other drill that we can work to help us with being established off of the back end and then rolling into and through the front end, maintaining that position so that we don't overcompress, is body over pause. So you take a full normal stroke, arms come out, body comes forward. We're in the same position we were for legs only, but now we're gonna take a full stroke again. And so we're in this body over pause position, really thinking chest up, chest forward, and we just keep rolling forward and allow the legs to rise to meet our chest, and then we press out. We don't want to shorten up in our stroke to try and prevent overcompression. We don't want to shorten the stroke, but we also don't want to get into a situation in which we just keep rolling forward too far so that the shins are too far forward of the toes as we roll into the front end of the stroke. And both of these drills will work best when you have taken the time to figure out your foot height and foot setting. Best foot height for you, best foot setting for you. So I encourage you to go back and watch that video. Make sure your feet are set in the right place. Yes, having the strap across the widest part of the foot is a great place to start, but there are reasons to deviate from that either up or down. And I go into great length and discussion on that topic in that video, which I'll link to at the end of this video. But going back to it, in order for your drills, your legs only drill, and your body over pause drill to be the most effective, in order for both of these drills to be the most effective, you really want to make sure you have your foot setting figured out. Going back to our original discussion, if my feet are too low, and I've set myself in a position where it's just too easy for me to get into the front end, even if I'm trying to row well and not overcompress legs only, I can still find myself doing it on this legs only drill. So even if I'm rowing well in terms of body positioning, if my feet are too low, it's not going to help me fully make sure that I am not overcompressing into the front end. And once we do overcompress and we get too far out over the toes, there's a lot of pressure in the knee. There's a lot of pressure in the quad for that initial turnaround out of the front end. And the other thing that happens, as you see as we roll forward, is the heels come up higher and higher because the knee is forward. So when the heel is higher, it takes fractionally split seconds, but still takes more time for the heel to settle through the drive of the rowing stroke. And the longer our heels are elevated before they settle, the less we're able to recruit with the glutes, hamstrings, and low back, and the more it requires a kicking out motion with the quad. So we want to make sure that our feet are set in the right place so that we maximize what we take from each drill. To be very, very clear, and I alluded to this at the beginning of the video in the intro, we still want to maximize the length of our stroke. We do not want to feel that we are controlling for overcompression by shortening our stroke, by shortening our compression into the front end. Instead, we want the foot position to be correct. We want the body position to be correct. And if the feet are in the correct position and the body is in the correct position, and we maintain this position as we roll into and through the front end, we really want to do it freely, easily, and with good length, because as we talked about in the video that we just posted about the front end, we want to make sure that we are rolling into and through the front end of the rowing stroke as if it's a conveyor belt. We are not rolling to the front end, stop, and go. We're not trying to control how we arrive at the front end. We are trusting that with good foot positioning and good body positioning, we can just roll nice and long into and through the front end, and the front end will present itself, giving us a very smooth, quick transition around the front end of the stroke. And so when we're doing it right, it ends up looking like this. So we're either rolling forward or pressing out. Rolling or pressing. Rolling or pressing. And we're trusting our foot position and our body position to allow the legs to rise to meet us and the shins to stay at just about vertical, maybe slightly past, because we are putting a premium on compression and length through the front end. As I was saying earlier, if you're finding your shins being slightly past vertical on your recovery into the front end of the rowing stroke, I don't have a huge problem with it. If you are finding that your knee is getting out over your toes and getting far past vertical with the shins into the front end, then consider foot height and consider the drills that we just spoke of, being the legs only drill and the body over pause drill, to help ensure that you're still rowing long and strong and smooth through the front end of the stroke, but not achieving length into the front end because of over compression, because of poor foot position, and or poor body position. If you found this video useful, please like, subscribe, tell your friends and teammates, and know there'll be even more rowing coming to you soon.